everyone. Welcome to the Ashley Barlow Company podcast. I'm Ashley Barlow, your host. If you are a parent, a teacher, or someone who works at a school, or you're a community member, a volunteer, or a staff member at an organization that supports people with special education plans, a coach, a tutor, or even a grandparent, you're in the right place. Sit back with an ice cold glass of lemonade, put on your walking shoes and grab some headphones, roll down the windows and cruise. Ready, set, go. Educate, advocate, collaborate. Welcome back to the Special Education Advocacy Podcast with Ashley Barlow. I'm Ashley Barlow, and I'm so happy you're here. I will never forget my first meeting where we talked about the transition to adulthood. Oh my gosh, was it chaotic. I honestly thought that people were speaking in a foreign language. It was so confusing. Nobody knew what the protocols were, what the processes were that we should follow, what evaluations we should have. Everybody was in the dark. Boy, oh boy, have I learned a lot since that first meeting on transition. I have transitioned pretty darn streamlined in my special education law practice. And I've learned so much of those strategies from advocates like Jawanda Mast and from self-advocates like Rachel Mast. Today, Jawanda and Rachel, who you heard talk in a few episodes ago, today they are talking about Rachel's transition to adulthood. I am so excited to share this episode with you. Don't forget that Rachel uses a script, and if you would like to access the script in order to follow along today's podcast, you can find it over on the website, ashleybarlowco.com. It will be in the show notes for today's episode. I'm so happy that you guys could join us again and we can continue our discussion. We had such a fruitful and helpful discussion about advocacy, both self-advocacy and then policy advocacy. And you all are experts on so many different topics. And the one big topic is something that you're experiencing right now, and that is kind of the transition to adulthood. So maybe we should start this discussion with kind of an explanation. Jawanda, can you kind of explain adult transition? So the process of kind of preparing a child that's on an IEP for that further education and employment that would happen after high school. So what happens in school and then what happens after?
Well, under federal law, the school district is supposed to start working with families. Federal law says by the age of 16. Some states say, like the state we live in, it's supposed to be by the age of 14, where there are identified transition goals that you are working on to help individuals with disabilities transition to adult life. So you're supposed to start identifying things. I don't know of many places where that actually happens. Okay.
Right.
But they're supposed to start identifying based on what the person, in our case, what Rachel wanted to do. So you're supposed to, and put in place and put in that IEP. Let's look at the classes we need to take. Let's look at the other opportunities. What are opportunities in our district? Who are the other players that need to be involved? There are organizations like vocational rehab, other things like that that should be invited to meetings because they are players that help see to it that this person transitions to adult life and can be meaningfully, competitively employed. Because that's the goal for most of us, is to have meaningful, competitive employment. So for Rachel, Rachel started doing a PowerPoint in her IEP meetings when she was in the 5th grade. And Ashley kind of joked with me and said that I told her that when Jack was 5, she needed to get started on adult life then, and it was too late. Okay. It's really true. Our families need to start when our kids are really little. And because what you do when your child is 2, 3, 4, 5 is going to impact where they're going to be when they're 22, 25 years old. And we felt it like it was really important. We always started IEP meetings with our mission statement for Rachel. It changed some through the years. It became hers through the years. Like when she started doing the PowerPoints, and this is what I'm talking about when I say it should be driven by this person with the disability. So Rachel then wanted to be a teacher. So in her PowerPoint, she would say, I want to be a teacher. So we're all, and that changed. And there's a story about that if y'all want to hear it later, why and how that changed. But when she's got in her PowerPoint the things she likes to do and wants to do, both socially, personally, and employment wise, it's kind of hard for an IEP team to argue with you because it's what she wants. It's not mom saying that's what Rachel wants. It's Rachel saying this is what I want. So we started that early, and that did help us, especially in high school, with some of our class choices. And then, so the school district can have students with disabilities until they're 21 years old. So a lot of school districts have post-secondary programs for students. It's called 18 to 21-year-old program. They call them different things in different places. Some school districts do a really good job with that, and some school districts do a really bad job with that. For our family, it was motivated by a couple of things that we chose to graduate at 18 with Rachel's class. The biggest motivator for us was Rachel had always been fully included. She was part of her class. She knew it was time to graduate and go to college, and she wanted to be like her friends. And so that's what we did. The other reason was we did not think the program that our school district offered for Rachel was a good option. And the programs offered, and maybe for someone else, but it was not a good fit for what she needed.
Yeah.
Rachel also wanted to go to college. So they are supposed to explore all these options with you, and there should be transition specialists and classes and goals related to that. Some of our big goals related to that had to do with self-determination. And we had some goals written in to help Rachel with safety, cyber safety, how to ask for help if she didn't know if something was safe that she found on the internet or gotten an email. And she's pretty good about that.
Yes.
So we did that. We actually turned that into writing and reading goals. Because I said that just makes sense. It's a natural kind of thing. Then I'm trying to think of some of the other goals we had. I can't remember. I'm blank on that. But the school district is supposed to help with that transition to adulthood. And all of these agencies, you're all supposed to work together. And your listeners and viewers may be surprised to know that many, if not most, districts don't do a very good job with that. And it is not entirely the school district's fault, though. There are so many players, and it's very hard to get everybody to the table. And in fact, we have a transition bill of rights task force here in Kansas that was started in large part because of testimony from me and some other people about the debacle transition is in the state of Kansas. Not on the school districts. I mean, they have their part, but there's a lot of other agencies. So that, I'm not even sure that answered your question.
Well, no, it does entirely. And, I'll tell you, because we've talked so much about relationships together, and because I preach so much about communication and relationships, I think a big problem with transition is that we do have all of those different players from the different state agencies and local agencies and former employers and all those people, but it's not a team that's used to working together because each one of those teams has different people from different places. And so I think a key to transition planning is meeting more frequently. It's, meeting once a year as an IEP team is just so crazy to me anyway. But, if you're planning a transition with all these different people, it takes you a second to get to know people and for people to feel comfortable, kind of pushing a team on one issue or another. So that's just one tip that I have. But yes, that answers my question and more. And Rachel, we're lucky because you are an expert on adult life because you're our self-advocate here. So why don't you tell us what you've been doing since you graduated from high school?
After I graduated from high school, I had a graduation party, the best party we had.
Hell, I'm going to interrupt her a second. When we worked on this, I had somebody else help her work on her answers. And I said, we want it to be Rachel's answers.
Yes.
Well, we had to make some changes because there was like an entire page just on the graduation party.
Yes.
And we said, we do not have time to spend a whole page on a graduation party. So you got to talk about something else. So,
Oh, that's funny. I like it.
that.
Must have been a good party.
It was.
Lots of people come and lots of people come and lots of people make gifts to my Able account. I had to write a lot of thank you letters, thank you notes or letters. Yes. I got a accepted letter from my college at Missouri State University. They accepted me in Bayer Power program. Bayer Power program. It got me. Yeah, I say more. I got the UP's Rainbow Scholarship. My college started in January, so I had an interview at Olive Garden. They actually hired me to be a hostess.
And then how long did you go to college?
I was gonna say that in the next.
Okay, go. Keep going.
I said the next page, so I click.
Okay, good.
She has a Mac and we did her stuff on my laptop and it's not all lining up exactly right.
Yes.
So.
Oh, I see.
All right. So please continue, Miss Rachel.
I went to college about 3 semesters. I worked at Olive Garden and I was at home part of the time.
She did not work at Olive Garden at school. That was just when she was home.
Yes.
Okay.
When COVID hit, I had to come home. We decided I would not go back to college, but that was hard. But I miss college the most. I love being a bear, and I love being a college schooler. Then I did pocket search. It's a industry-based program. I love it there.
Okay.
I got graduated there. I love it. They were helping me to work for a job that I work for a career. I work at Olive Garden. I got a job interview and I got another job with for Casey here in Alabama. But it's our professional soccer team that we really love. I'm a fan services
associate. She worked her first shift Saturday night.
My Saturday, yes.
Was it good?
Yes.
Do you like soccer?
Yes.
Okay, good. I don't like soccer, so that wouldn't be a great job for me, but I'm happy that you got that next job too.
Well, I love soccer.
Okay, good.
I used to maybe off topic, but I used to play soccer up here both places in Memphis, Tennessee, where I was born at.
Okay.
Up here in Atlanta, Kansas.
Okay. Hey, I'll tell you a funny story about soccer. It's also a little off topic, but that's okay. We go off topic. My Jack, I told you he's crazy. So my husband and I, we used to coach Jack in soccer. And so when you have little kids coaching soccer, you need a coach and an assistant coach because all the kids are a little crazy, but Jack is like next level crazy. And so Jack would kick the ball and we'd get so excited. Everybody would get excited because he kicked the ball. And then every single time he kicked the ball, he would just keep running and he would run to a playground that was like 3 soccer fields away. And then I would go chasing after Jack. And then Brandon, my husband, would have to coach a bunch of little kids all by himself without an assistant coach because I was busy chasing Jack on the playground. So So that's why I don't like soccer, because to me, it was just running after Jack all the time. That's funny, isn't it?
Yes.
So I like being a college girl just like you, and I wish I could still be a college girl. Let's talk about, I'm so happy that you got that college experience, Rachel, and there are so many college programs now that are wonderful. And there are places like Ruby's Rainbow that give people scholarships so that they can access college, which is so wonderful. What did you love about college?
So, of course, I love college. Also, and trust me, I got some help with this. I love being an independent woman at college. I love going to Life Church at Springfield, Missouri. I also love being involved in things at college like student activity council. I also like being involved in the Vine is a Bible study we do back at college. That's also I'm going to say next my Bible study. We do things as too. We also loved about college being a sorority house member. Alpha Delta Pi. What the other thing is with my friends from my sorority house. I love down halls, but also this is really hard, Ashley. I love desserts and pasta at all the food of the down halls.
Oh yeah, desserts and pasta. What's not to
Too
love?
much of me. We're trying to rush. I also love making new friends, get to hang out with my friends, of course. I also friends and making new friends who is nice to you. Yes. I love going to the movies and plays with my ambassadors and new friends. I also loved going to the gym, working out. Of course, I want to work out. Also being a part of SGA. That's things for student government. Really love it. I love it. I miss it so much. I really love it so much. I was a bear pirate senator at student government.
You know, Rachel, that it's so neat that you had all of those experiences, and I know it was hard to make the decision to come home when COVID hit. But I like to look at the bright side, to find the positive. And there are so many things that you learned in just a year and a half at college that you can do forever in your adult life. You know, it might not be student government because now you live a grown-up life, but there's all kinds of places for you to have leadership. And it might not be a sorority, but you had that sorority experience. You learned how to make friends in an organized way. And now you can go join some other club. You know, my mom's retired and she has a garden club and a book club and a Bible study and all of these organized ways to make friends. So the lessons that you learned in college, I think, are really important lessons that will help you as an adult, right?
Yes, and I love that is to be that's why I went to college for spiritual life, to show us to be more independent and that warn that a lot of people are different. That sometimes people don't go to college, they do go to college, but sometimes people might not graduate from college, and that's okay. It's that we still be happy and we still be at home. Even we're missing college, we still would be happy to be home.
That's right. I graduated from college over 20 years ago and I still miss college. And that's okay too, right?
Like me, I miss it too, but we're going move forward. Like I said before, going move forward, move on. Don't worry about other things. Focus on the now. That's
yes.
what I learned from my internship. My internship I did at public service. I learned if I just stick in the now.
Stick in the now. Oh, Rachel, you are so wise.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm sure that while you were in college, you had some challenges. Can you tell us some of the challenges that you had while you were in college?
while I was away, I missed all of my friends back at home. Me FaceTime is not the watch. I have Snapchat. Of course, I Snapchat a watch.
Sneak peek
Yes.
of her daily life.
You don't want to go with that. We don't have to tell you why about that.
Okay.
Sabine was really hard. Sabine was really hard. Sabine was really hard. When I was off to college, I left my favorite dog here at this house. Her name was Sua. At this at my home, at my house. She was old. And
Oh,
she died while I was at college. That made me really sad.
oh, yes.
I had some problems with my basement roommates. I ended up in a room by myself. But that was really hard.
Yeah.
The next year, my roommates were what better when that happened. They helped me to become a independent woman. That helped a lot too.
Mm-hmm.
They buy me to do a tons of things. Like we did face mask. Really fun. They got me one for my of course I tell you more where. It, and even when on a birthday trip, birthday trip with my meetmate Hattie, who had a birthday, and by me and my roommates to go to Brisbane and celebrate her birthday.
I'm sure that was-
Kilo was really hard because I could eat all the pasta. Like I said before, it was hard to eat the pasta and eat desserts that I all wanted.
But that's not healthy to eat all the pasta and desserts.
I agree with you here. I did not like staying by myself in the dining room. But sometimes I did not have anyone to sit with.
Right.
I stay up too late and I had a hard time keeping up some tips.
Mm.
She's a night owl.
Oh no.
I'm proud of myself, but I wanted to call campus safety. But to go places where I couldn't find anyone to do things. I will go by myself. And sometimes I have my bachelor to take me. I love my bachelor. She's also my friend. She's my bachelor. We're still friends, and we always text and of course Snapchat back and forth.
Awesome.
Okay. The last part. The best thing at college, but the best thing at college was I got to meet my wonderful boyfriend Timothy. We were both Missouri State Bears. He was also a big Razorback fan, just like me. I am glad we're all common and that we love our relationship and we are now better together.
Oh man, you both love the Razorbacks. You're both Missouri State Bears. I mean, it's a match made in heaven.
He's from Rogers, Arkansas.
He lives in Rogers, Arkansas.
It's perfect.
Oh boy. Rachel, isn't there some kind of pig call or hog call or something? You don't have to do it.
Yeah.
No, okay. If you're
I'll
there,
do it.
We have our own Missouri State call.
oh, a Missouri State call.
Oh, yeah, it's more bird.
It's probably not nearly as good as the hog call.
Actually, I actually want the lyrics to that song actually on YouTube.
Okay, I think your mom might have you doing the hog call on Facebook if anybody's interested.
MOURSI, Missouri State
Rachel,
University.
I don't think you spelled that right, but anyhow.
I wasn't paying attention.
Because Sean would do I knew of an honor song we've seen.
Oh, that's cool. I like it. Jawanda,
sometime.
Rachel has lots of school spirit.
I love it. I had school spirit, and something that you said is something that I had to do too, Rachel, because my school didn't have great sports, but I like sports, so I would just go by myself. And so I love that you learned to make your own fun by yourself. And then if it was dangerous, you would call campus safety for a help or a ride back, so that it was safe for you to get around by yourself. That's really smart stuff there.
It was really small idea because they were great people because of course I did some internships on there too, and of course they took me to my internships. Of course there is I still have a number still actually on my phone, still have that. So they were great presentation. I missed that so.
Yeah, that's awesome. So one of the things that we talk about when we talk about adult life is kind of all the different areas of adult life, and Christy Gregg is an incredible expert that's here in the Cincinnati area. She worked for our local Down Syndrome Association for years. She created something called an aging toolkit. And in that, she talks about 5 different pillars of adult life. So she talks about independent living, social life, medical decision-making, medical health, employment, and transportation, which is something that we really have to plan for and that a lot of people don't think about until it's right upon them. Jawanda, I know to me, as I'm planning things in IEP meetings, I think the hardest thing to get data on, to get assessments on and information is this independent living idea. And an idea, it says independent living. I think you and I both agree that there are so many different options that are available for people to live independently or with an appropriate amount of independence for them. And so I don't think, independent living means this or it means this. I think it means what's right for the person. I wonder if you could share any experiences or ideas about insight that you got that helped you to kind of decide what was the right independent living situation or living situation for Rachel, both now and then into the future.
We're in the middle of that, as you know. So one disclaimer I want to say is I do think people, especially people outside of our disability community, and sometimes people in that community, when we say independent, that doesn't mean that Rachel can go out and do everything without help.
Right.
Rachel has a circle of support and wraparound supports, and will always need those things to be independent. And that is one of the challenges with some programs is they measure independence against maybe what people think typical people should be able to do. And I mean, one of the things we advocate for a lot is that Rachel has to have wraparound supports. We wanted Rachel to have a college experience because we had really good college experiences. And while I know that there's a lot of danger on college campuses, you can find danger anywhere.
Yeah.
And we felt like and Rachel wanted to go to college.
Yes.
And we really felt like there's just a lot of things that we can't teach her in our own home that you can only figure out when you're out on your own. And that being in a college program, while she didn't have 24-hour supports and didn't need that support, it was a way to kind of test those waters. And we learned a lot. We learned some things that we needed to work on, and we have started working on some of those things more. Rachel learned some things, which I think, you've asked her about some of that, but Rachel doesn't like to ask for help. And so that's a real challenge for her. And we just learned some things things that you didn't think about necessarily. And I'm going to give a silly example. Medicine. Rachel takes a couple of medicines, not life-threatening, allergies for some skin issues that she has, but she needs to take them. But if she doesn't take them, she's not going to die. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Right.
So from the time sometime in high school, we set it up so she had reminders on her phone, but her medicine is kept in the kitchen by her dishes because she takes her medicine at meals. Well, when she went to college, when I would go to visit, I would find pill bottles that hardly any pills were
Open.
out of. So I knew she wasn't taking her medicine. And that little change in routine was enough that we had a really hard time establishing that routine again there. She did set her alarms on her clock and that helped, but now that she's home, her medicine's back in the same place. She never forgets to take her medicine. It's the little things that you don't plan through. So, but we thought college was a good opportunity for us to test those waters. And I do believe that was probably a wise decision. What was the other part of your question about going forward?
I think that's really wonderful. You know, something that that was the answer that I was looking for. And you know, like tie that with your response to the last question where you said she's going to always need support. So we all, when we change our environment, when we get a new job, when we move, when we have a new baby, when those changes happen, I mean, any change in my life, my hair starts falling out in clumps. I am not good with change. So I forget stuff like that all the time. But the interesting piece when we're planning for our adult children that have disabilities is they need that support. And so it's all the communication that has to go around how we're going to make a plan, how we're going to implement the plan, who's going to implement the plan, all of those pieces. And that's a lifelong commitment. I mean, that's not something that you could say, okay, now that's in place. Now I get to sit back and relax. And I think it's really important for people to understand that things are constantly evolving and changing, but all of that yields a better Rachel. And that's the cool thing. Rachel, you had those great experiences and you were able to give us 2 pages of notes of what you learned and what you loved and all of that wonderful experience. So, you know, all of those struggles, they really turned into something good, didn't they?
Yes.
Yes.
Ashley, I do want to say you said that something about there being lots of options for independent living, and there are and there aren't.
Well,
depending on where you
yes.
live, you have limited options. And depending on if you have money, you have limited options because a lot of the options are expensive. There's a lot of private pay places now that many of us ordinary people can't afford. And then you cannot impress upon families enough the importance of finding about home community-based waiver services in your state, because there's wait lists in many states. I don't know about the state you're in, Ashley, but in Kansas, we have a 10-year wait list.
Ours is about the same.
Yeah, we can't. Some states it's 13. Some states there's no wait list, but that's the exception, not the rule. And that is how you get supports through Medicaid waiver services, which we don't want to get into that, but families need to go find out about those services and get on those lists because they're going to need those for help for their individuals to be independent. So
agree entirely. And it's a really good thing to mention. When I was saying it, I meant, you know, I would never want somebody to think that I only think that that adults should live outside of their homes, not with their families, or only in some kind of facility or something like that. There's so many different placement options.
Many options, and far more than anyone has ever had before us. So yes. We pave the path for people that come behind us, we hope, but we absolutely have so many more options than other people had. Are we going to come back and talk about transportation?
Yes, we sure are.
All right, right along.
I like it. My next question for Rachel, though, another pillar is employment. And Rachel, I think one of the things that we think about when we're planning in school is the skills that we need to be a good employee. So I'm curious, what skills have you learned? What skills were taught to you that make you a good employee, that make you good at your job? I'm sure that you've got some skills.
I've learned to use my phone reminders. I've learned how to clock in and clocking out. I learned strategies to help me when I'm anxious. Like this. When I want more to ask for help, I am friendly, I'm kind, I always smile, and I make people.
Rachel, I am so happy that you talked about strategies, that you've learned strategies to help you when you're anxious, because
Thank you.
so many of us experience anxieties in everyday life. And if we don't know how to address them, we can't focus on the other things that are challenging in our lives. That's something that I'm actually working on with Jack right now. I just talked to a therapist and we're going to get started in some stuff for that. So thank you. We can all be reminded to keep that in mind. We touched on this a little bit, but I'm also curious about how COVID affected your plans. And the reason why I'm curious about this is because your mom wrote this really beautiful blog post about how you can go with the flow. And so what I want to know is, when COVID happened, how did you do that? How did you go with the flow so naturally?
This could be really funny. Of course, this is from a movie. Of course, I remember this in my internship also. It's just keep on swimming. Just keep on swimming. Keep on swimming. Keep on swimming. Like finding what I would say. Keep on swimming.
Like Finding Dory.
Go on the next scene and remember that nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect.
Hannah Montana.
God has a plan. God has a plan for me because God can do all things with you.
That is so great, Rachel. And those are really important reminders for all of us. Did you watch the Olympics at all?
Some.
Not as much as me.
So Caleb Dressel.
Way too late watching the Olympics.
It is late. I agree. Caleb Dressel is a swimmer, and he had something on his Instagram yesterday with his whole schedule. And at the top of his schedule, he had little things like this written, just keep swimming. That wasn't one of his things, but just little quotes that helped him to stay focused. And I think sometimes we make life so complicated. And I love that you say, just keep swimming. God has a plan. Those are really great things to remember. And I know that it was hard for you, but you did. You just kept swimming.
Yeah, thank you. And I want that, for my internship, of course, my amazing people I did with my internship was Bernadette. She always said, just come up with me and be a rock star. I texted her and she said, just be a rock star. Just come up with me. And that it isn't that, just step up for yourself, but it's not gonna be afraid that you can do all things with God, and God can always be with you, even if you are afraid, but to not be afraid because God will always be with you.
That's right. God's got your back, right?
Yes.
Jawanda, let's move on to transportation. That's the next thing on our master plan here. What resources do you all use to access transportation?
Well, transportation's a nightmare. Okay.
Yeah.
I've somehow got moved away over here. Where we live, we do not have good public transportation options. So we are right in the middle of trying to figure that all out. So right now, Rachel pretty much depends on us for her transportation. And we looked into Uber, for example, to take her. We've tried to teach her to use that, but it is so cost prohibitive for her to take it to work that It makes no sense. Funny, we're talking about transportation because we just signed up for a program here in our city that I had been told about. That is, that would give Rachel rides within the city limits for $4.50 each way.
Oh.
and which is a good, much better than the ride shares. So, but I'd heard mixed reports, and one of the issues is safety, and not just cost, but safety. So it's set up for the elderly and people with disabilities. But long story short, we finally signed up for it and decided we'd try it. And I was told if I would call and schedule a ride, that Rachel, if I scheduled it, ahead of time, several days, that, she should be able to get picked up for like work. So she had to be at the Olive Garden at 5 yesterday. So we set it up for 4:30. They had not come at 4:45. So my husband took Rachel. I call at 5:15 and I'm told that they don't know how long it's going to be. So I said, well, you can cancel the call. And they said, well, we don't guarantee a ride. We only have rides if they're available. You can't make this stuff up, Ashley. So then the taxi driver calls me 20 minutes later and says, I'll be there in 6 minutes. And I said, well, there's no need to come, because if we'd waited on you. So here's a little advocacy in action. I sent an email last night to the mayor, all members of the city council, and the chair of our Persons with Disabilities Advisory Board, outlining what had happened, and said, if this were typical people, we would never do this to them. This is disrespectful. It's unacceptable to offer a program to check a box, because that's what it feels like. Because if you can't have some semblance of a guarantee of time, it's a worthless program.
Agreed.
I've already had a little action on that, so we'll see what happens. But through some of the Medicaid waivers, you can get transportation. We're not in a position to be able to do that at this point with our waiver. There's another ride program, but again, you have to schedule it, and then you have to be ready 15 minutes before the window they give you. So if they say they're coming at 7:30, you have to be ready from 7:15 to 8 o'clock. And then if they don't come, which has happened to us. So we're really struggling with transportation. There is another option here, and we're on a wait list for it, that is a little better. But I would say, based on my friendships and relationships, transportation is the biggest challenge.
I would agree with you entirely. And I think what's so interesting about it is people might be more empathetic to it now, because I was talking to a friend about this that's in a similar situation. And she said, you know how like during COVID, parents were trying to work and teach their kids, and then work and provide, all the different resources that our kids need, exercise and take them to the park and try to whatever. She said, well, that's how we are all day long. We are constantly trying to run our son to his activities and do his work and do all of his places. And meanwhile, we're trying to work also. And that's really eye-opening. So maybe that will help legislators and other people in leadership understand that in order for adults with disabilities to be in their communities, to work and access their medical appointments and social activities and that kind of stuff, they can't rely solely on their parents and their close circle to get them there. That's just ridiculous.
And I think there's some creative ways to address this. I know of a program in another state where they have a contract with a ride share. I think it's Uber, may not be. And they direct bill it to Medicaid, and that's how the rides are provided. Which is genius. Why?
Yeah.
I mean, that seems like such an easy, and I bet you at the end of the day, less expensive than the other hoops you jump through. But transportation is really very much a struggle.
Yeah, I think Ohio used to have something like that, but that was before I was as involved as I am. But people sometimes reference it and talk about how it isn't in existence anymore. I mean, I'm in Kentucky. I know that we don't have it, but I'm 2 miles from Cincinnati, so I hear what Ohio's got too. So that's transportation. We all know that's hard. Rachel, are you comfortable? And I know you did this in our last episode when we talked about policy making. Are you comfortable talking to us about your family's choice with medical decision making?
Okay, so we use supported decision making my parents have a power of attorney, so they can help me mostly to make my decisions. But I want my mom and dad's input, and sometimes my friends. My mom helps me to manage my prescriptions and doctor's appointments and insurance. I have really good friends who have been my friends for a long, long time. They help me to. I have good mentors like Bethany Todd, who's from my church.
Talking about Bethany Bone.
No,
Keep going.
Bethany, stuff like that. Bethany and Oksana and Kendrin.
That is awesome. So you use supported decision making. And as you said earlier, when we were talking about college, you're your own guardian. And if you need help, you know that you've got people that you can rely on, right?
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah, I love it. So we've talked about 4 pillars of adult life, and now we get to the one that's the most fun, but it's really important. And I know this might sound silly because I know that you're a social Sally like your mom, and I am also a social Sally. But why don't you tell my audience some of the things that you like to do with your friends?
Okay. I'm lost.
Okay, Rachel, you can answer this without looking at that.
Okay.
What are some of the things you like to do with friends?
Oh,
Look
that's
at,
easy. Okay.
That's easy. I
Okay.
knew it would be.
just tell her some of the things you like to do.
Okay. So.
You don't need that.
Okay. Okay. Sorry. I'm so sorry. What I like to do is to of course, be at my house, of course, to hang out with my friends and to go to see movies at Theater Park we have down here, and what else you like to do? You like to act.
What do you like to do with friends is what she's asking.
Oh, okay.
So like to hang out.
Yes.
She likes to FaceTime and Zoom. What did we do during COVID, Rachel?
Oh yeah. Okay.
Did we host some?
Wait. I hosted some Zoom dance parties, and we had a couple of backyard parties, like my birthday party.
Fun.
It was my birthday. We did in the backyard, and one day we did some parties when people was back at class and stuff too.
That's great.
I also able to meet with friends in the parking lots of ice cream places. Sometimes we do ice cream, sometimes we don't do that often.
During COVID, they would meet somewhere and they would drive separately. Jonathan or I would take Rachel, and they usually Jonathan, and they would take lawn chairs and spread out in the parking lot and walk through the drive-through and get their ice cream or Sonic. Or they went to a park, this was girls from church
and food too. We got some. It was Monday. We got food at this one new place we went to, and we sit. It's a parking lot, and we all open our trunks, and of course, Boy was with us too, but many Doc is here too.
Oh, that's great.
So of course we bought her, of course.
And Rachel always does that when people ask her what she likes to do with friends. And she's so social, but she loves to go to movies.
Yes.
And she loves to go to
parties.
She loves to go to theater. And we're fortunate to have a lot of live theater, and a lot of it is back now. In fact, this week, Rachel and I are going because the girl that was supposed to take her has COVID. We are going to one of our outdoor theaters to see some of her friends.
Like I said before, Theater Park, they have shows, and actually, my friend took me to see Mamma Mia for my birthday, and we did that before she had to be with this going on. We did that to see Mamma Mia on my birthday, and then this show is a bit different, called Newsies, and this is the one we're going to see Friends Wednesday. Yeah,
Oh, that is,
friends
yeah,
in the show.
that's wonderful. I mean, and it's so nice. One time, somebody told me that they wanted their child to be interested and interesting because they thought that was the secret to a healthy social life. And so that you're a living example of you're interested in theater and performing arts. And then that makes you interesting because Rachel, you and I could talk forever about shows that we have both seen and what you like about Mamma Mia and the music and that kind of stuff. And then that gives us a connection. So I think that's a really great skill, and that's why it's so important for our health.
Yeah, we also like to watch, of course, one of our favorite we watch is High School Musical. Of course, that's our favorite shows. And Hairspray is our way.
Hairspray's her favorite show.
And Hamby School, and also we've been watching one of our new favorites. It's called High School Musical, the series.
Okay. Oh yeah, is it good?
Our new favorite to watch with Oksana, my friend. He used to be here and watch those together.
What do you watch with your boyfriend?
Oh yeah, my last part of this. So I usually talk to my boyfriend Timothy every night, like always. That is really fun to talk to him. We sometimes, well, we sometimes watch Friends.
Sometimes.
Mostly I watch Friends. And FaceTime. So usually I will pause Friends and turn off TV and FaceTime. So usually I don't play Friends while we can be FaceTiming, but we sometimes I pause Friends and I pause it and I turn it off and it's really and we talk.
And that way you can hang out with Timothy.
On FaceTime, yes.
That is awesome. Hey, Rachel, I have enjoyed this so much, both of our conversations. Is there anything else that you would like to share?
Yes, okay. I can see right here. Okay. All right, so thank you for having Ashley, you. He's so beautiful. So thank you for having us on the Zoom call. I am Rachel. I have Down syndrome, but I'm not called Down syndrome. I'm Rachel, and I really love my life. Thank you so much for your time.
Oh, Rachel, that was so great. I can't say it any better than you. Thank you so much for joining us.
No problem. It's amazing to. I'm so glad we make a plan to do this on Monday, and I'm just really happy to be doing this tonight. So thank you.
Thank you, Ashley.
Absolutely.
I got a friend, Cassie.